God may save the queen, but who will save God? The goddess, naturally. But who saves the goddess? Is there a difference, really? We would like to preface this video with this service announcement. I am out to attack neither anyone's individual belief system nor their personal understanding of deity, be they pagan, neo-pagan, heathen, Wiccan, Druid, New Age, Hellenic, Norse, Celtic, non-Wiccan witch, Golden Dawn, Dianic, Gardnerian, Alexandrian, Eclectic, Fairy, Chaos, Mormon, Christian witch, Kabbalist, Thelmic, yeah, all y'alls. Basically, I am here to present the work of Ronald Hutton in an easily digestible fashion, taking the citations and suggestions of Hutton and representing them in a basic and entertaining fashion. The appearance of the goddesses in literature held to a hierarchy of popularity, and from the 13 to 1800s, that order was Venus, Diana, Minerva, and Juno. Their qualities were always similar. Venus was always invoked for beauty and love. Diana was strictly the patroness of virginity and occasionally hunting. Minerva ruled the realm of civic duty and prowess, and Juno was known as queen and ruler over such aspects of the feminine mystique. In the 1800s, the Romantics turned up for what, yo? The theosocial hierarchy reorganized and put Diana at the top of the heap. Diana lost her virginity and became the anthropomorphic symbol of the moon, while Venus became, for whatever reason, a goddess of the sea and the wilds. Minerva and Juno lost their top-tier status and are replaced by Proserpina and Ceres. In 1849, Edward Gerhard was damned and determined to consolidate the panoply of goddesses into one prehistoric Earth Mother goddess. In 1901, one Sir Arthur Evans took to this notion like ducks to water, and therefore took all female deities to represent one goddess, and all male deities as a singular son and consort. He likened it to the popular figure of a virgin mother with a divine child, thus making it palatable to Christians. Jane Ellen Harrison, in 1903, whether she knew it or not, was about to propose one of the most substantial tropes in contemporary pagan ideology, that of the threefold goddess. Taking inspiration from the fates or graces of Greek mythology, Harrison suggested that a primary maiden ruled the realm of the living, and a secondary mother ruled the realm of the underworld. And a conspicuously absent third aspect went left to the imagination. Divination is hard work, bitches. Holy shit, y'all, this is loco importante! This familiar aspect of so many pagan traditions is near apocryphal, and Hutton has revealed to us the oracle that found this symbol that shaped what we know as contemporary paganism. I'm a pagan and I don't believe in a threefold goddess. That's fine! But you better recognize history! I just spit. History! Deal with it! But what about the crone? Silence! I'm getting to that. But what history would be complete without a healthy dash of fraud? None of them, that's what. In 1939, A.L. Armstrong uncovers a chalk stone figurine representative of a goddess, which he claimed predated all other representations of female deity and was finally the proof that everyone desired in search for a primary goddess figure amidst the panoply of existent recorded goddesses. Goddessi? Goddesses. Female deity. This was an uncontested theory until the mid-80s or early 90s. Gillian Varndell, an archaeologist from the British Museum, who just so happens to still be working and writing to this day, analyzed the works of A.L. Armstrong for all they were worth and found that many aspects of the excavation on which he was citing his discoveries did not add up to the proper archaeological protocol. Hutton cites examples such as the fact that all proper records of the dig stops on the day of the discovery, and that there was in fact an expert carver on the site with Armstrong who may have been responsible for the figurine, which was noted to have appeared freshly carved. Perhaps the most significant nail in the coffin would be the fact that, to date, no other comparable figures have been discovered in that area. But did that stop upstart young poets? From taking the goods and running? You bet your ass it didn't. In 1948, poet, writer, classicist Robert Graves published The White Goddess, in which he purports, though does not cite, the history of the goddess to be one of a prehistoric female deity related to the moon in its three major aspects, waxing, full, and waning, and completed the triad with its final member, the crone. See, I told you. Graves also equated the cyclical year to the terrestrial adversarial relationship of the kings of Holly and Oak, or rather the fecund and dormant aspects of the year. So what have we learned? What have we learned? How great is it that every inspired mind of the time so fervently sought the great primary goddess that they were willing to rediscover her in literature, uncover her in archaeology, and create for her a temple in the hearts and minds of seekers in that time, in spite of her lack of man-made artifact? Actually, it's pretty great. Spit again. It's pretty great, but don't take my word for it. Talk to Hutton. Okay, segue to the next chapter. Hooray, we found the goddess. O-M-G-O-D-D-E. What the fuck? Okay, so I don't really have a segue into the next chapter, so here's the next chapter. Finding a god. Hooray! The pattern of references to pagan, ultimately Roman, gods follows a similar course as the goddess. Between 13 and 1800, the biggest dick in pagan representation of a god was, of course, Jupiter, because bitch was king, followed by Neptune, god of the sea, which makes sense, since England was a nautical nation. Sailors. That's really creepy. Third was Mercury, god of commerce and communication. And finally, Vulcan, known to the Greeks as Hephaestus, the ugly god of industry. Unlike the goddess pattern, the representation of Roman gods in literature amongst the Romantics provides a deific tabula rasa, and instead places Apollo, pretty boy amongst the ancients, front and center as the god of poetry, song, and solar energy. But his fame was short-lived. Like a star dying amidst a lack of tabloid press, Apollo paled in comparison to the explosion of every pagan's favorite half-goat, half-sex offender deity, Pan! This is an interesting choice amongst the Romantics because Pan actually wasn't that big a deal to the Greeks and Romans. Hang on 1 second. Before everybody burns down the fucking internet, I have come from the future to save the credibility of this video. Okay, I think a fair statement here would be that Pan was not as prevalent a presence in ancient literature than he was in ancient Greece and Rome. Pan had festivals and places of worship and worshippers. Obviously, reading Hutton's book, I think we can safely infer that Pan was indeed a big deal, but more so within the praxis of ancient Greco-Roman religion than in literature. And now, having altered the past, I will spontaneously dematerialize in accordance with the laws of time travel. To put things in perspective, Pan was sort of like the mom and pop store down the street from Walmart. Lovable? Totes. Determines the rise and fall of the national economy? Not so much. In antiquity, Pan's most famous appearance comes to us through Plutarch, when he compares the fall of Hellenic paganism to the resurrection of Christ and Christianity, proclaiming Pan is dead. But fuck history. Romantics like Wordsworth, Keats, Shelley, Hunt, and Hazlitt decided the Greek god Pan was the embodiment of the English countryside. Really, don't ask me how they made that jump. It just happened, okay? He could be felt by the casual Londoner on holiday in some rural retreat apparently everybody in England went on. True to their name, the Romantics romanticized the countryside as a place of idle wistfulness, a time and space where there was no work to be done, and only the benefits of summer berries and warm breezes to give weight to their inauthentic idealization of country living. Just going to give my opinion here. Growing up on a farm sucks, okay? Moving on. Between 1895 and 1914, Pan reached his zenith of popularity, and any poetaster felt not only capable, but compelled to scribble out some lowbrow couplets to their new god of poetry. Wait, wasn't Apollo the god of poetry? No, fuck that guy. No, he's actually the god of poetry and verse. Like, that's his thing. That's his deal. That's not what the Romantics said. The Romantics didn't just venerate Pan as their counterculture nature god. They made him their poster child. Pan came to embody any and all possible ideas, be they legitimate or fringe, associated with the Romantics. Let's review a few of those ideas, shall we? Sublime, mysterious, awe-inspiring benevolence, comfort, lusty abandon, redemption. You know, all that kinky stuff. The antithesis to the assumed ugliness and unhealthiness of brute industrial urbanism. Now, all of this sounds like lawless herpy-derpy mumbo-jumbo, and we'll have none of that. But Christianity had lost some of its steam, and short of turning Pan into the devil, which they did, the alternative was to work with the Romantics and turn Pan into a green Jesus. I can't make that shit up, guys. It's right there. Page 45. A savior to all the aminals, like Jesus was the savior to the bros and babes. But wasn't Pan known for his orgiastic drunken rape stories? Silence! In 1923, Eden Philpott's story, The Twins, makes Pan a mouthpiece for the middle ground between bestial carnality and Christian prudery. But don't think for a second that this campaign worked. Poets found Pan appealing specifically because he was so outrageous, truly outrageous, to Victorian sensibilities. Keats invokes Pan in Endymion before the main character of the poem sidles up next to the goddess he wants to bang. Algernon Blackwood, geez, why was that the popular name, takes things a step further and grants Pan the ability to ignite mystical experiences to reverent followers, be they through the medium of lover, spouse, or that mysterious wonder which tempts the heart away from known familiar sweetness into a wilderness of undecipherable magic without flesh and blood. But Pan wasn't just the mystical Guru Baba of transcendence. He was also the naughty liberator of feminine libido and homosexuals. In Teresa Hooley's Prayer to Pan, she asks Pan to ignite her with undying fire, white-hot jewels of desire. There are toys for that now. And in 1908, Eleanor Farjeon titles a book of poetry Pan Worship and Other Poems. Aleister Crowley wrote a poem about Pan that everyone can misquote. But what is cooler is his boyfriend, Victor Neuberg, portrayed Pan as a sexy dream lover. In The Lost Shepherd, he writes, "And he clasped me slim and light. I roared with the pain he gave, and he cried, 'I will hold thee here, climax all night, my beautiful dark-haired slave.'" But by the 1920s, writers thought Pan needed some reining in. James Stephen's 1928 Crock of Gold has Pan reach Ireland only for its native god, Angus Og, to tell him to go back to Greece. Finally! Shit, Irish Pantheon, where the fuck have you guys been? By the 1930s and 40s, Pan had undergone the full coadunation process, like the goddess, consolidating him into the neo-archetype of the horned god, and made the son-lover of the goddess. Pan was paired off with the new goddess in numerous works, like Robert Barrett Browning's Pan and Luna, Crowley's Pan to Artemis, and even Aldous Huxley's Cynthia. And thus we have the dream team couple of the goddess and the god. There you have it, folks! Pagan history once again falls victim to the ways and wiles of romantic poets. Hutton has shown a light on the cold, hard facts of the actual history of contemporary paganism, and yet one cannot help but feel a certain affinity for the romanticized reality we gain from writers like Browning, Shelley, Keats, Graves, et al. How can we go on? Well, we could stop focusing so much on poetry and start focusing on the people who gave us a way to engage the god and goddess with the codified method. Join us next time here on The Pagan Scholar, where we discuss Hutton's next chapter, Finding a Structure, where we'll learn about the various ways and means of past groups and how they influenced our present pathways to the goddess and god. As always, merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again.